Hi, this is a video recommending some Judgment Starting Heroes for Magic players who play Red. So for if you're getting started with the Judgment Miniatures game and you're not sure which heroes would be interesting to you, I've been putting together this series of videos kind of recommending them, recommending Judgment Miniatures based on the colors that you like to play in Magic. So for this video, so first of all, just an intro about what Judgment is. So Judgment is a tabletop war game based on the MOBA genre of video games where you control a band of heroes and you play against another player. And kind of plays out similar to the style of MOBAs where you start by battling neutral monsters and leveling up your heroes, buying artifacts, and then finally battling your opponent's heroes and destroying their effigy. So what am I going for with this warband? So I'm trying to kind of follow the aesthetics and play style of Red and Magic. So in terms of aesthetics, we're going for things like fire, goblinoids, giants, those kinds of things. And then in play style, we're going for that kind of aggression and direct damage that Red is so strong in Magic. So Magic players who like to play Red, this one's for you. All right, so getting started. So with Judgment, when you first start playing, the normal getting started level is to play 3 heroes against 3 heroes. So that means that the first thing that you're going to do when you're getting ready to play is to kind of bring your initial 3 heroes. So I'm going to start with the recommendation for the first 3. So the first hero I want to recommend is Zonia, the Orc Warrior. So I think Zonia really fits into the playstyle that we talked about with this idea of just raw aggression and damage. So Zonia is maybe the most damaging hero in the game, and one thing that's great about her is that she's really great into almost any target. She can deal with high armor, she can heal with high agility, um, and she can so she's just, I think, a really great fit when you're talking about like kind of an aggressive direct damage style of hero. Second hero I'm going to recommend is Skull. So Skull is a defender, which means that he's looking to kind of protect some of the other heroes, but I think among the defenders, he's one of the ones who also has the most damage output. I joked when I was thinking about this video that Skull is kind of like that hill giant that you got in Magic, but he's actually good. And he's a he also has an ability called Soul Burn, which does a d6 of damage to target for each soul that they have on them. That can be really great in the late game. So I think combine that with his ability to give 5 temporary hit points to another hero. He's really great at protecting some of those other aggressive heroes that you want. You know, if you want to send Zonia rocketing in, giving her an extra 5 temporary hit points can save her from being killed in response. And the third hero I'm going to recommend is kind of our signature fire mage here, Astariel. So Astariel is a ranged damage dealer, and she just really brings all the fire to your warband. So the way that she works is that she's going to be kind of slinging in these firebolts from range, setting people on fire, and then if she sets people on fire, she can burn them for extra damage. So she's great and thematic in a red oriented warband. And she's also going to synergize with other fire-based heroes if we bring them later. So for 3v3, this is a starting 3 that I'd recommend, and I think you'd find the playstyle to be really familiar for if you're coming from Red. And so in Judgment, after you've played at the 3v3 level, the next level you would typically step up to is either playing 5 heroes against 5 or playing 3 against 3 with pick and ban. So the way pick and ban works is that your opponent is going to pick 1 hero to ban, and then you're going to pick 3 heroes from the remaining 3. So with either of those versions of the game, you're going to be bringing 5 heroes. So the next 2 I'm going to recommend, the first one is Brock, the Dwarf Berserker. So here we're kind of continuing this theme of aggression and just huge damage output. So Brock has the ability, if he scores a critical hit, he can make another attack, which means that in the right circumstances, if you can kind of set him up, he's potentially the most damaging hero in the game. And one other thing, when we talk about this theme of direct damage, obviously in Judgment, you're typically just dealing damage to heroes. There's not really the same concept of direct damage, but one thing that I think kind of aligns with the idea of like a fireball or a lightning bolt to the face in Magic is damaging your opponent's effigy. So one thing that Zonia and Brock are both really going to excel at, actually in Skull as well, is if you can get them into attacking your opponent's effigy, that can be a way to end the game really quickly. So if you want to have like a really aggressive playstyle, threatening to go in and not only killing their heroes, but actually just going directly in and destroying their effigy is, I think, a really like great aggressive playstyle for Judgment. And then the last hero I'm going to recommend for this initial 5 is Jaeger. So Jaeger is more in that kind of goblinoid. He's maybe a throwback for the goblin deck for the red players. But one thing that I really like about Jaeger in this warband is he brings a debuff of where he throws a net and reduces the agility of the opponent. And both, I mean, Brock is going to love that. Skull is going to love that. Astariel is going to love that. So, I mean, Jaeger is just a really great complement, I think, to this warband. He also has the ability to strip souls. In this warband, we are not even attempting to play the soul game. So by having Jaeger stripping off souls, I think it's just going to really keep your opponent's soul gazer busy and avoid having that part of the game get out of control. All right, so this is the 5v5 warband. Now we're adding in Brock and Jaeger. So now going up to the most competitive level of Judgment, tournament games and things of Judgment or competitive games are often played 5v5 with pick and ban. So in order to do that, it's the same process we talked about with 3v3 pick and ban, but just with 2 more heroes involved. So in order to do this, we're going to bring a 6th and 7th hero. So the first one I'm going to recommend is Barnascus. Hey, he's a pyromaniac, right? And he's also a dwarf riding on a tank. So come on, like what could be cooler than this, right? So what's great about Barnascus? So his role is hybrid, which means that he's so hybrid kind of means that they defy classification. But I think the way that I would describe Barnascus is he can deal damage, but he's also very tough and hard to kill. And I think in this one thing you have to be a little bit careful with in Judgment is if you can dish out a lot of damage, but you also suffer a lot of damage in retaliation, it's really hard to get ahead. So I think what Barnascus brings is a little bit more toughness. He has armor and he can heal himself or repair himself essentially. So I think he's a great addition to this warband for his toughness. And he also brings he has flamethrowers on this tank. So if he's setting opponents on fire, that's also feeding into Astariel's ability to deal extra damage to everyone who's on fire. So he's a great synergy with her as well. And the final hero I'm going to recommend is Kogan. So again, we're talking about just, pure crazy aggression. This guy's just a great fit in that as well. One thing that's kind of interesting actually with the last 3 heroes that I recommended is Jaeger, Barnascus, and Kogan all have this combination of melee and ranged output. And I think that can be really valuable in Judgment, where if you have only melee, you're kind of subject to your opponents controlling your heroes and kind of dictating who you can attack and where you can go. When you bring that combination of ranged and melee damage, it really allows you to avoid that and to kind of dictate who you're attacking. And again, all these guys are just really going to be really great at going in and taking down that opponent effigy. One other thing that Kogan brings to the game, this is kind of similar to what Jaeger has, but he has a knockdown with his blunderbuss. So again, if anytime we're going to debuff the agility, all the heroes in this warband are just going to get pumped up to outrageous levels of damage. So so the final warband that I recommend for Magic players who are coming from red, we add in Barnascus and Kogan, and I think this would be a great starting 7 for kind of for learning Judgment and playing with that kind of aggressive, fiery play style of red. All right, thanks for watching this video. I would love to hear any feedback you have about the warband I suggested or the way that I described the heroes. Any hero suggestions that you have for red players or other suggestions for people who are getting into Judgment would be. I'd love to hear that. So I created this website called wartable.online where you can play Judgment online for free. So I'd love it if you'd check that out and enjoy.